Well, my name is Ayesha Basit. I'm actually a former policy analyst at the Violence Against Women unit at the provincial level, and I'm also a former policy analyst at the Ontario Public Health. I'm here reading this statement on behalf of Sultana Jehangir, Executive Director of the South Asian Women's Rights Organization, which is a grassroots member-led, community-based organization that works with new immigrant women in the Teesdale and Crescent-Town neighborhoods. Laurel Broughton, who serves as the minister responsible for women's issues in Ontario, has said, this is very recently, that it is essential that programs and policies address the unique needs of women from diverse communities so that all women in Ontario are able to live without fear or threat of violence. All women means all women. Undocumented immigrant women deserve the same protection and rights as other women in Canada. But some women are too afraid to access services for fear of being deported. So if they need emergency health care, if they need to report domestic abuse, if they're experiencing exploitation from their bosses, there is nothing that they can do because they are afraid of being taken away from their families. Access without fear is important for women's access to essential services and to women's rights. Through our work, we see that women find themselves in Canada without status for a number of reasons. Some women are dependent on their spouse for sponsorship in order to gain status in Canada. They may fear losing their status or have lost their status because they have fled an abusive relationship with their sponsor. These women are particularly vulnerable. Many women in this situation become trapped and see no choice but to remain in the abusive relationship until their immigration status has been regularized. Lack of immigration status can leave women isolated, dependent, and vulnerable to abuse. Women without status are often forced to choose between remaining in a bad situation, deportation, or living without access to social services or the ability to work and support themselves or their children. Women with Canadian-born children are also often prevented from taking their children out of the country to return home with them. This just enhances the fear of being deported. Many undocumented people risk detention and deportation each time they enroll their kids into school or access healthcare or emergency services. We all know that undocumented workers are vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. We also know that women as workers are more vulnerable to abuse and exploitation in the workplace. Undocumented women work and contribute to the economy of the city, but often if they are being exploited by a bad boss or when they demand unpaid wages from their employer, they fear detention or deportation. Women who are being exploited for their labor are the ones who are being punished further by certain policies. These women contribute to the economy of the city, they do the work in the city, and they should be able to access city services without fear. During our last 5 years of work in the community, we have seen the severe challenges of undocumented immigrant women. During the past years, our community organization has made great impact on two serious problems affecting women in our community, one being severe isolation and the second being profound poverty. Without an access without fear policy, poverty and isolation further inflict undocumented women.